It's one of the most storied franchises in the National Hockey League and has won 6 Stanley Cups. The most recent was the 2010-11 season. We are talking about the Boston Bruins. And a Sudbury author has written a new book about the franchise. It's called Bruins 365 Daily Stories from the Ice, and it was released this week. Mike Commito now joins us in studio. Mike, so nice to see you again.
You too, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Why the Boston Bruins? I know you've written a book about the Leafs, the Habs, the Canadians. Why the Bruins?
I honestly picked the Bruins because of Sudbury and all of the Sudbury connections to the team. The publisher, Dundee Press, when we finished Habs 365, they said, what's next? And they wanted me to do Wings 365, which I think, a lot of people would be supportive of. But I said, if we're going to do anything next, it's got to be the Bruins. So, I grew up going to the Beef and Bird, spent a lot of Friday nights there, Saturday afternoons playing Porchetta Bingo. So I knew about Jerry Topazzini. And then obviously we had players like Eddie Shore, Doug Moens from Capriol, and then more recently the Nick Folignos, the Tyler Bertuzzi's of the world have all played with the black and gold. So I just felt if I was going to do something that was not Leafs, that was not Habs, it had to be the Bruins, at least for me. So
Eddie Shore, you mentioned one of the...
sorry, Eddie Shack, I meant.
Eddie Shack.
But Eddie Shore is obviously a great Bruin, but I meant Eddie Shack locally as one of our connections.
Eddie Shore, of course, played for the Boston Bruins. Willie O'Ree, also, is he in this book, the first black NHL player?
Yes, absolutely. So I have Willie O'Ree in there. I have his NHL debut, which is obviously a monumental moment in NHL history, being the first black player to play in the National Hockey League. And then I have him scoring his first goal, which he did on his second tour of duty with the Bruins a few years after that.
This book is going to appeal to hockey fans, especially, as you mentioned, in Sudbury, but also Sault Ste. Marie, because Phil Esposito was from the Sioux and was part of that Stanley Cup run in the early 70s.
Yeah, so I've got quite a few stories about Phil Esposito, obviously one of the greatest players to ever wear black and gold. He's part of a trade that came over from Chicago, didn't work out too well for Chicago, worked out beautifully for the Bruins, and so I have a lot of stories about him. My mom and her family are from Sault Ste. Marie, so they know all about Phil Esposito. My grandfather, her father was quite the hockey player in his day, and the family legend has it that when Phil Esposito was growing up in the Sioux, he talked about wanting to play like my grandfather, Don Lotto. So we've had it confirmed. I haven't had it confirmed to me directly, but that's the story, and we're sticking to it.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention one of the best players ever to suit up for the Boston Bruins and in the National Hockey League, Bobby Orr from Parry Sound.
Yeah, a lot of Bobby Orr stories. For me, a little bit before my time, but that iconic, flying goal that he scored after clinching the Stanley Cup in 1970, it's become one of the most iconic pictures in hockey history. And then certainly what he did to revolutionize the game, changing the way that we view defensemen and what they can contribute to the rush and how they can contribute to the team. I had to include a lot of Bobby Orr stories. So there's quite a few. I even have a Bobby Orr and Terry Fox story together. Bobby Orr met him during his Marathon of Hope in 1980. They stopped in Parry Sound and Bobby Orr presented him a check. So I had to include that. I always try to include Terry Fox in these books when I can, but certainly Bobby Orr is a big part of Bruins history.
What's next for you, Mike Commito?
Well, excited to launch Bruins 365 this month, and then honestly just taking a bit of a break. This is the third book in the last 3 years, so there's obviously 29 more franchises I could do. So I could spend my rest of my days writing these books, but for now, taking a break. We'll come back to it eventually because there's a lot more hockey history to write.
Mike, always a pleasure. Continued success.
Thank you very much.
Mike Commito was our guest. And to see more of our author series, Northern Book Club, head to our website, CTVNewsNorthernOntario.ca.